covering Introduction to Plant Physiology, Plant Transportation, Energy Metabolism, Plant Nutrition and Plant Responses. So first of all, to know about plant physiology, we should first know what basically physiology means. Physiology can be basically divided into two terms, physio and logy. Physio comes from the Greek word physis, which basically means nature or origin. At the same time, logy comes from the word logos, which is a Greek word which means study. So basically, the scientific study of function in living systems is known as physiology. It is basically a subdiscipline of biology, and its focus is in how organisms, organ systems, organs, cells and biomolecules carry out the chemical or physical functions that exist in a living system. Now, what we would be studying in terms of plant physiology. So in plant physiology, we would be studying the processes which occurs in plants, the function of processes occurring in plant and how basically the plant works. To know about this, first of all, we should know what kind of transportation systems a plant has. So plant has three kinds of transportation system. They can do the transport system mechanism into three ways. There could be the transport of water, there could be transport of sugar, there could be transport of mineral, so as to gain nutrition from outside environment into the plant body for its growth. Now, basically there are three levels of transportation. At cellular level, like on the level of cells, short distance like between tissue transportation, then long distance that is between xylem and phloem. So there could be three kinds or three levels of transportation as per this basis. Now comes to water movement. To know about transportation, we should first know that how plant absorbs nutrition or how the transportation takes place. So transportation is basically the movement of water or other mixed molecules from the outside or environment to come inside the body of the plant. So how it comes inside the body of plant? Basically, diffusion is a process which is the net random movement of individual molecules from one area to another. The molecules, that is basically जो water molecules हम बात कर रहे हैं about water molecules, they from a high concentration travels to the low concentration following a concentration gradient. Likewise, this is the phenomenon of diffusion. Like if a droplet of water is there, it is of high concentration, it will get dissolved in water chance by chance as it is seen in the diagram, and ultimately would get dissolved fully into water as the droplet was of high concentration and water was of low concentration. Another way of stating this is that the molecules moves from an area of high energy, that is high concentration, to one of low free energy, that is lower concentration. The net movement stops when a dynamic equilibrium is achieved. The second process is osmosis, the spontaneous net movement of solvent molecules through a partially permeable membrane into a region of highest solute concentration in the direction that tends to equalize the solute concentrations on the two sides on gaining or achieving a dynamic equilibrium. Water potential. What is water potential? Water potential is a measure of the energy state of water. Basically, through osmosis, we can determine the direction and movement of water molecules. Now, when we talk about water potential, so the unit of water potential is megapascal, that is MPa. So, this is basically a phenomenon of osmosis, into which the red dotted lines are semi-permeable membranes, and the molecules from a higher concentration travels to a lower concentration, at last gaining an equal equilibrium. Dynamic. Now, psi is the unit we use for this. Psi of pure water at 1 atmosphere is equals to 0 megapascals, and psi is equals to, that is, what is psi? Psi is water potential. We used to denote water potential by psi. Psi is equal to solute potential, which is always negative, plus pressure potential. Water molecules always moves from higher water potential to lower water potential. So this is just a diagrammatic representation of the same thing. This is pure water, H2O, that is. So it could be divided into three parts, like adding solute to the right side lowers the water solute potential, hence causing the water to move to the right side of the tube. As you can see into that, these are the solute particles, which are red dots. Then the second case is when we apply a positive pressure to the water. The applying positive pressure to the left side increases psi water potential, causing water to move to the right side of the tube. Similarly, when we apply a negative pressure, applying negative pressure to the left side lowers the psi p, causing water to move to the left side of the tube. At cellular level, now let us discuss about cellular level more in detail. So when we are talking about plants, movement in plants, at cellular level, it moves in and out of the cell depending on the osmotic force. It freely moves across the phospholipid bilayer, and the third process is through transport protein, that is aquaporins. So you can see a diagrammatic review over here that this is a phospholipid bilayer. These are things which has hydrophilic and hydrophobic ends. Now the outside part is the cell wall side and the inner side is the cytosolic side. Okay, so and the center part is the aquaporin protein, this green colored part. Okay, so the molecules or water molecules can diffuse through the phospholipid bilayer, or they can move across this aquaporin protein. So by this way water diffusion takes place. This aquaporin is basically an integral protein. What are integral proteins? Integral proteins are those proteins which actually are proteins which are situated across the membrane, like they start at the cell wall side and they end it at the cytosolic side. These actually scans the whole semi-permeable membrane. So these kind of proteins are integral proteins. Now this is the water movement in plants at tissue level. So this is basically an epidermis. It has two plasmodesmata. Plasmodesmatas are basically channels through which water molecules or other molecules moves through the plasma membranes or through the semi-permeable membranes present inside the plant. Then through epidermis, the molecules move to the cortex. Through cortex moves to the endodermis, and through endodermis pericycle, and at last xylem, and through xylem it goes to the various levels or various regions of the plant cell. The blue colored region is basically the apoplast, and the pinkish colored region, or you can say the orangish colored region, is the symplast. And this pinkish colored region is the plasma membrane, and this is the Casparian tube. Plasmodesmata are the channels through which molecules can travel through beyond semi-permeable membrane. So this is bulk water movement in plant. The various these are the various layers which we have shown here. This one is this, and these are xylem cells, etc. And this is a diagrammatic representation of sugar transportation through xylem and phloem and water, and moves from xylem and phloem. There are the companion cells and source cell leaves, and this is the sink cell, that is root, and through this water again crosses, transpiration of water takes place, and again water gets incorporated into phloem and translocation of sucrose takes place, and the process same goes on in this. This is mineral transportation, that is active transportation. Into this, transport protein with two binding sites enters here. Then specific solute binds at the one side, as you can see over here, this part. Okay, then the phosphate group is transferred from ATP to protein, as a result converting ATP into ADP, and a phosphate group gets attached to it. Protein changes its shape, pumps the solute across the membrane. The other binding site is now exposed, different solute binds to it. Okay, then as soon as the different solute binds to it, phosphate group is released and protein returns to its original shape, and the shape change causes the solute to be released. So if you have any questions and discussions, so you may write down or jot down in your comment section. So thank you so much. We are done for this session today. Thank you so much, everyone.